Hello everybody, welcome to another lesson by me, Miss Pythagoras. In this lesson, I will explain how to solve basic trig equations. This is lesson 3 of 5. Let's start with the maths. Solve for a in tan 2a equals 14,235 if a is an element 0 up to 360 degrees. Now the very first thing that you must realize is you cannot say divide by 2a, divide by 2a, since on the left hand side you have an angle and on the right hand side there's numbers. So what you do is you start by writing down the sum, and then you're going to work out something that we call a reference angle. And a reference angle is always positive and it's always an acute angle. So we find the reference angle by saying shift tan 14,235 equals, and then your reference angle is 85,9 degrees. And can you see it's positive and it's acute? Then we say, we go back to our sum and we decide here on the sign that was there originally. And now there's a positive. So then we will say, where is tan positive? And this is back here in the blue cloud in the cast diagram. Tan is positive in the first and the third quadrant. And then you write quadrant 1, quadrant 3. In the first quadrant, it is this angle that was on the left, 2a equals, and then on the right your reference angle, and you solve a. So a is 42,9 degrees. And then in the third quadrant, you must realize that the third quadrant has its own rule, and the rule is 180 plus reference angle. So in the third quadrant, whatever was on the left, in this case it's 2a, you write that one on the left, equals, and then here this is 180 plus the reference angle, and your reference angle was 85,9, and then 2a is equal to 265,9, divide by a, and a is equal to 132,9 degrees. Now we will be looking at equations in a certain form. So the first one is if it's sin A equals plus or minus sin B. So what I want to say is that you must note that there's a sin on this side and a sin on that side, and the angles are different. Or if it's a cos A equals plus or minus cos B, or tan A equals tan plus or minus tan B. Here, B becomes your reference angle. So it's this angle that you find there that's going to be your reference angle. And you solve by identifying the correct quadrants. Now, where to start? Let's get an example. Solve for theta in sin 2 theta equals minus sin theta minus 30. So I want you to recognize this type of sum where there's a sin, and there's the plus minus. So what you're going to do is you will say in the third quadrant, the following is happening. Now I just want to make sure you understand why. It's because of this minus over there. Where is sin negative? Sin is negative in the third and the fourth quadrant. And the third quadrant, the rule is 180 plus reference angle, and in the fourth quadrant 360 minus reference angle. So back to the sum. In the third quadrant, now you write whatever angle you found on the left, there was 2 theta, equals, and then in the third quadrant the rule is 180 plus reference angle. And can you remember here on top I said that that angle there will become your reference angle. Then what I did next was I multiplied in the positive. So therefore 2 theta is equal to 180 degrees plus theta minus 30. And then in the next step, this theta will walk across and become negative theta, and 180 minus 30 is 150, and then theta is 150 degrees. And then also there's another quadrant where sin is negative. I'm back there, and that is the fourth quadrant. And then you write on the left 2 theta equals, and the fourth quadrant, the rule is 360 degrees minus, and this is reference angle. And remember, I said that one becomes your reference angle. So in the next step, you will multiply in this minus, and 2 theta is 360 minus theta plus 30. And then in the next step, the negative theta will walk across and become positive, and on the right 360 plus 30 is 390, and then 3 theta is 390, divide away the 3 and your answer theta is 130 degrees. Before we continue, have you subscribed yet? And a reminder, you can also visit my website onlinemaths.co.za. The link is in the comments below. There you will find all the chapters in the syllabus. Let's continue with the maths. Now we will be looking at equations in the form sin A is equal to plus or minus cos B. And I want you to recognize this one, that there's a sin on the left and a cos on the right, and the angles are different. Now here we're going to convert cos B to the co-function sin 90 degrees minus B. We solve by identifying the correct quadrants. Therefore, here's a question. Solve for A in sin 2A is equal to cos A plus 10 degrees if A is an element 0 up to 360. Therefore, we say sin 2A, whatever you found on the left, and now you're going to change the cos into sin 90 minus, and A plus 10 becomes your reference angle. And then you're going to say, remember that was using co-functions. So sin 2A is then sin 90, and now we're going to multiply in the minus, and sin 2A is equal to sin 80 degrees minus A. And now you're back at number 1, where there is a sin and there is a sin. So then you decide in the first quadrant. Why the first quadrant? Because sin is positive. And then you're going to say also in the second quadrant, because sin is also positive in the second quadrant. And then you say 2A is equal to 80 degrees minus A, which is your reference angle, and you add plus 360 times n. And then now you can solve A, so the minus A will walk across and it becomes plus A. 3A is 80 degrees plus 360 times n. Divide right through by 3, and you even divide the interval by 3. And then you end with A is 26,67 degrees plus 120 degrees n. And we will work with n now. Let's go to the second quadrant. So on the left it's 2A equals, and in the second quadrant the rule is 180 minus reference angle. And then we can now multiply in the negative there, and I'm going to add the step. It becomes 180 minus 80 plus A, and then the A will walk across and become and negative a, so therefore 2a minus a is a, and 180 minus 80 is 100 plus 360n. And then what you do is now you can substitute in n's place a minus 1, 0, 1, 2, and even here a minus 1, a 0, a 1. And just be careful, you have a restriction there up to 360 degrees. So whatever angles fit the brief there. And therefore the answer will be A is equal to 26,67 or 146,67 or 266,67 or 100. The next equation is in the form sin A is equal to K cos A. And here it's important to realize that the angle is exactly the same. So what you're going to do here is we divide both sides by cos A to become tan A equals K. So the question, solve for theta in sin theta is equal to minus 4 cos theta if theta is an element 0 up to 360. So very important, can you see the pattern? It's a sin theta equals, and then there's a number in the place of k, cos theta. So the angle is exactly the same. Then we can divide both sides by cos theta, and then both sides by cos theta, then it becomes sin theta over cos theta is negative 4, and sin over cos is tan theta is negative 4. The next thing we do, we work out the reference angle. And remember, reference angle, you ignore this minus, and you simply slot in your calculator, shift tan 4 equals, and you find 75,96 because a reference angle is always positive and always acute. Now you go back to the negative and you say, where is tan negative? Tan is negative in the second and the fourth quadrant. So then in quadrant 2 it will be, well, quadrant 2 and 4, né? Then theta is equal to 180 minus reference angle, because the second quadrant's rule is 180 minus reference angle. And you end with theta is 104,04. And then in the fourth quadrant, theta is 360 minus reference angle, because the fourth quadrant's rule is 360 minus reference angle. And your answer, theta is 284,04 degrees. Solve for A in 2 sin squared A plus sin A is equal to 3 if A is an element 0 up to 360. So we start with the sum, 2 sin squared A plus 3A minus 3 is 0. And again, I want you to recognize the algebra. So that one in algebra will be 2b squared plus b minus 3. And when you factorize, it becomes 2b plus 3b minus 1. Now you can go back to trigonometry and factorize that, and it becomes 2 sin a plus 3 bracket sin a minus 1 is equal to 0. And now you split it up into 2 sin a is equal to minus 3, or sin a is equal to 1. And then you can divide by 2, divide by 2, and you end with sin a is equal to negative 3 over 2, but that one has no solution. And the reason is, since this number is bigger than 1 or smaller than minus 1, there's no solution. And then when you go back to the right, sin a is equal to 1. Where is sin a equal to 1? At 90 degrees. Now you know how to solve basic trig equations. In the next lesson, I will explain trig equations, general solution. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next lesson.